The Galactic Academy Station orbited peacefully between three star systems, a monument to interspecies cooperation and learning. Within its crystalline halls, thousands of young beings from dozens of worlds studied side by side. But for Paisley, a Valorian girl with iridescent skin and four graceful limbs that had stopped working after a childhood illness, the academy had become a prison of cruelty. Every morning began the same way. Paisley would arrive at the transport dock, carefully maneuvering her anti-gravity wheelchair through the crowded corridors. And every morning, the Krathian boys would be waiting. "Look, it's the broken one," Vex would sneer, his scales rippling with colors that signaled mockery in his species' language. His friends, Tor and Glix, would surround her like predators circling wounded prey. The first time they'd taken her wheelchair, Paisley had thought it was a misunderstanding. She'd asked politely for its return, explaining that she needed it to reach her classes. They'd laughed, a harsh clicking sound, and left her stranded in the hallway while they tossed her mobility device between them like a toy. The teachers had retrieved it eventually, but the damage was done. The bullies had found their target, and Paisley had learned that asking for help only brought more humiliation. Now, 3 weeks into the term, she'd developed a strategy. She arrived earlier, took different routes, and tried to make herself invisible. But the Krathians always found her. Their superior senses, evolved for hunting on their homeworld, made escape impossible. On this particular morning, they'd hidden her wheelchair in a maintenance shaft 2 levels above her first class. Paisley sat on the cold floor, her useless legs folded beneath her, fighting back the tears that would give her tormentors even more satisfaction. Around her, students rushed past, some glancing with pity, others with indifference, but none stopping to help. That's when she noticed the human. Owen Matthews was new to the academy, having arrived just 3 days ago from Earth. He was tall for his species, with brown hair that seemed perpetually messy and eyes that held an intensity Paisley hadn't seen in other students. He'd been walking toward his xenobiology class when he saw her sitting alone, her chair conspicuously absent. "Hey," he said, crouching down to her level. "You okay?" Paisley looked up, startled. In 3 weeks, no one had asked her that question. "My wheelchair," she said quietly, her translator chip rendering her native clicks and whistles into galactic standard. "They took it again." Owen's expression darkened. He didn't need to ask who. The Krathian boys were notorious throughout the station, but their influential families ensured they faced no real consequences. "Where's your class?" "Sector 7, Quantum Mathematics. But it's fine. I'll just—" She didn't finish the sentence because Owen had already moved. In one smooth motion, he scooped her up, one arm under her knees and the other supporting her back. Paisley gasped, her skin flashing through a spectrum of surprised colors. "Which way?" Owen asked simply. "You can't. I'm too heavy. Humans aren't as strong as—" "Which way?" he repeated, adjusting his grip as if she weighed nothing. Paisley, too shocked to argue, pointed down the corridor. The walk to Sector 7 took 12 minutes. Along the way, students stared. Some whispered. The Krathian boys, lounging near a viewport, watched with their jaw plates hanging open in disbelief. Owen didn't acknowledge any of them. He just walked, his steps steady and sure, asking Paisley about her class and her homeworld, as if carrying people was something he did every day. "On Earth," he told her as they navigated a gravitational lift, "we have this saying, you don't leave people behind. Not because of politics or rules or social hierarchy. You just don't." "But I'm not human," Paisley said softly. Owen looked down at her, and she saw something fierce in his expression. "Doesn't matter. You're a person." "That's enough." He carried her to her classroom and gently set her down at her station, which had been designed for her species' unique seating requirements. The other students stared. The professor, an elderly Gatharian, blinked all 6 eyes in surprise, but said nothing. "I'll find your chair during break," Owen promised, "and I'll bring it to your next class." True to his word, Owen located the wheelchair, returned it to Paisley, and then walked away as if he'd done nothing extraordinary. But word spread quickly through the academy. The human who'd carried an alien girl to class. The human who'd stood up to the Krathian bullies without saying a word. The human who'd demonstrated what his species called basic decency, as if it were the simplest thing in the galaxy. The next morning, when Vex and his friends approached Paisley at the transport dock, they found Owen already there. He didn't threaten them. He didn't even speak. He just stood beside Paisley's wheelchair, arms crossed, eyes challenging them to try something. The Krathians backed off. Within a week, other students had joined Owen's silent vigil. A Centaurian girl named Thex, a Beryllian boy called Kos, a whole group of different species who'd decided that if one human could stand up to injustice, they could too. The bullying stopped. Paisley's wheelchair was never stolen again. But more importantly, something had changed in the academy. Students who'd walked past suffering with indifference now stopped to help. Acts of casual cruelty became less common. And when anyone asked what had prompted the change, the answer was always the same. A human had shown them what was possible. 3 months later, when Paisley gave her presentation on theoretical wormhole mechanics, a presentation she'd been too demoralized to prepare before Owen's intervention, she received a standing ovation. As she maneuvered her wheelchair off the stage, Owen caught her eye and gave her a thumbs up. A peculiar human gesture she'd learned meant approval. Later, in the cafeteria, Paisley asked Owen why he'd helped her that first day when no one else had. He shrugged, biting into what passed for a sandwich at the academy. "On Earth, we've got this concept called Ubuntu. It's from one of our African cultures. It means I am because we are. Your suffering diminished all of us. Helping you wasn't heroic. It was just being human." Paisley's skin rippled with colors that meant affection in her language. "Then perhaps," she said, "the galaxy could use more humans." Owen smiled. Or maybe just more people willing to act like it. Around them, the cafeteria buzzed with conversation. Dozens of species, hundreds of voices, all learning together in the space between stars. And in that moment, the Galactic Academy Station lived up to its promise. Not just a place of learning, but a place where the best of what each species could offer might finally shine through. All because one human boy had decided that carrying someone to class was simply the right thing to do.